British Vogue recently released an article titled, "Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now?" And if you haven't seen it, well, buckle up because I've got some opinions and social media has a lot of things to say about it. So the first line reads, "If someone so much says my boyfriend on social media, they're muted. There's nothing I hate more than following someone for fun, only for their content to become my boyfriendified suddenly." Now, already from this line, this rubbed me the wrong way because the tone pretends to be feminist or subversive, but there's actually a slight undertone of resentment hiding as cultural critique. The author tries to frame their opinions as a rejection of boyfriends, but what's actually happening is a subtle denigration of people, specifically women, who like to express themselves on social media through their relationships. But what does it even mean to be embarrassed by a boyfriend anyway? Let's break it down. The article starts by making a controversial commentary clearly rooted by old fashioned thinking and beliefs. They start by questioning whether or not having a boyfriend is now social suicide or social inferiority because apparently having a boyfriend in 2025 is considered a guilty pleasure. In some ways, I do agree, but not in the way that you might think. Judging by this article, this author seems less interested in critiquing gender dynamics and more intent on policing how women like to express themselves, especially online. So, by positioning boyfriend content as something inherently shallow or regressive, the piece ends up reinforcing a different kind of judgment, a new kind of judgment, one that shames women for embracing how they choose to love in their relationships publicly. So here's how I see it. There's this assumption that love is a kind of compromise. That the moment you have a partner, you have a boyfriend, then you're somehow less free. You're tied down. Well, it's the 21st century, guys. Aren't we supposed to be past that? We talk so much about freedom and self actualization, but somehow choosing partnership is seen as surrendering your freedom. The article isn't entirely wrong because today's digital world and today's modern influencers have turned independence into the new trend. Today, to be young is to be self made, self sufficient, and endlessly self evolving. Gen Zs nowadays are expected to build empires and run side hustles at such a young age. And amid all of that, one thing has become taboo, and it's the idea of being tied down. Because right now we're in a culture that's obsessed with freedom, so even admitting that you have a partner or you have a boyfriend can feel like social suicide. But the truth is, love was never meant to be marketable. It's supposed to feel messy, it's supposed to be demanding, it's supposed to look human. Maybe that's why that unsettles people, because it doesn't fit into the hyper independent narrative that we're being sold. So, in the end, the problem isn't that people are falling in love, it's that we've convinced ourselves that falling in love makes us less free. And maybe it actually does the opposite. Our generation is being sold the idea of independence first, love later. The article was right about one thing, and it's that influencers today, like the Wizard Liz or Persephone's Mind, manage to make love look like a liability. Influencers and self help gurus have repackaged independence as the only form of power, turning the word boyfriend into something so embarrassing. And Gen Z just accepted it like it's the new gospel, and that their salvation is not in love or connection, but in the cult of being obsessed with yourself. And coincidentally, and it's been perfect for researching for this video, I've been reading All About Love by Bell Hooks. And in the book, she says, and I quote, "Youth culture today is cynical about love." And then she goes on to say that whenever she travels abroad or gives out lectures about societal topics, young audiences become so agitated when she speaks about love in any kind of scenario, in any kind of movement or social justice. Her young listeners are reluctant to even hear about the idea of love as a positively transformative thing. It's almost as if love has become taboo to talk about in 2025. And we've also been taught to believe that success can't possibly come from anybody else's support. You have to be self sufficient, you have to be built from scratch, you have to have built what you have now by you and only you. Your online persona is supposed to scream, I'm doing this all on my own, and God forbid you post a photo with your boyfriend or your partner. But I see it as one big contradiction. They say, don't let anyone define you, build your empire, put yourself first. But the moment that you finally found a balance between affection and ambition, people act like you've betrayed some unspoken rule of independence. Suddenly, love has become a plot twist. They say, you have a boyfriend? Really? I thought you were all about self love and independence. I thought you were all about loving yourself. And that's the strange and exhausting paradox of women in 2025. To want connection suddenly is to risk your credibility. And honestly, it's getting kind of old. Independence matters, of course. We should all be striving to grow. We should all get to know who we are outside of our relationships and outside of anybody else. But when self first and independence turns into self only, that's when it starts to become a problem. The mantra of independence and self-autonomy starts to isolate us, turning what's meant to be empowering into something really lonely. But here's what I've learned. You can still love yourself and still want connection. The two aren't opposites, they're connected. Real connection is one of the most important human experiences that we have. In the same book, All About Love by Bell Hooks, Diane Ackerman was quoted saying, as a society, we are embarrassed by love. We treat it as if it were an obscenity. We reluctantly admit to it. Even saying the word makes us stumble and blush. Somewhere in this hustle culture and hyper-independence, we've mistaken solitude for strength. And love has become taboo. But love isn't about losing your identity, it's about being fully seen without having to perform. Being committed to someone has almost become scandalous after self help influencers have pushed detachment and independence as the ultimate it girl lifestyle. And it really doesn't help that the internet feeds us ideas of what a perfect love is supposed to look like. And we see that and we start to compare it to our own lives in the real world and we get disappointed. This this is what keeps young individuals, especially young women, scared to be vulnerable in front of somebody else because we're constantly trying to maintain a perfect version of ourselves and a perfect version of love that simply does not exist. And because of this, we now have a distorted idea of what love is supposed to look like. Relationships have become transactional, and ghosting has become so normalized and almost expected that we even have a word for it. And now, suddenly having a boyfriend or being emotionally invested in someone is considered a crime. So, is having a boyfriend really embarrassing? I would say no. And if the internet is telling us that it is, then that's when the problem starts. Because, yes, of course, put yourself first and never settle for what you don't deserve, but don't give in to the misconstrued idea, especially not some clickbait British Vogue article, tell you that love is something to be ashamed of. And if you're in a relationship that pushes you to be the best version of yourself, then you're one of the lucky ones. Don't let anything or anyone make you feel embarrassed for building something with someone. Having a boyfriend is not embarrassing.